free agency has come and gone, and teams are looking a lot different right now, bro. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of teams made some good moves. A lot of teams only signed a long snapper. Cough, cough, Cowboys. Just kidding. They didn't only sign a long snapper. But teams are different. New identities are forming. Directions of what teams are going to do in the draft are taking place. And I got another mock for you here. With trades, there's a lot. I don't. This is a predictive mock, but this is going to be like if every team was super aggressive, within reason, for the player that they wanted the most. In my mind, playing the draft board to get the player that they need. If that makes sense. So that is a caveat to go with, and I want to talk about the first 3 picks, because the only draft, the only mock draft where you will see the Vikings picking in the top 3 are from Vikings fans. That's not gonna happen. I like the Vikings. I would rather Kevin O'Connell get Drake May than Jared Mayo. But that's probably not going to happen. Like, it just is what it is. And it sucks, to be honest. But the Vikings are moving up for a quarterback. Spoiler alert, that's going to happen. So, with all that being said, let's go into the mock. Again, Justin Fields is off the Bears. We all knew it was coming. I predicted it was going to happen, and it was not predicted it was going to happen. Everybody knew it was going to happen. I predicted it was going to be to the Steelers, while everybody was still talking about Atlanta back in January, because it just didn't make sense for Atlanta. Like, if Atlanta wanted to try to get into the top 3, they potentially could have, being only pick 8, or come up for JJ. They're only at pick 8. But for a team like the Steelers, who's at pick 20, it just made the most sense to go get this kid and see what you could do. And now that you have Russ there, who you're paying on a vet minimum, I mean, they really did rob the Bears on that trade. And I think the report is, and I don't know how true it is, but I do commend Ryan Poles, if it is true, that they wanted to do right by Justin Fields and they let him pick his landing spot. I don't know how true that is, but it was a good deal. I mean, if you're a Bears fan, you wish you got more, but it's unfortunate. But Justin Fields is gone. You're moving on with Caleb Williams, and you got Keenan Allen for a 4th-round pick. So the compensation you lost for Fields could be looked at as what you got in the theft you committed for Keenan Allen. Pick number 2, I think the more I think about this, because I am a big Drake May guy. I have been a big Drake May guy since before this process even started. I had him as QB1 going into the year. You could say that's crazy. I don't think it is, but Caleb Williams is a really, really special player. And, I think Drake May is special as well, but Caleb Williams just does things that it's like, whoa. Anyway, the argument for Jaden Daniels to Washington has been Cliff Kingsbury wants a mobile quarterback. Cliff Kingsbury's used to quarterbacks that could run, Drake May, I don't know why people are sleeping on Drake May's mobility. I mean, the kid ran for, I think, 800 rushing yards in 2022, and 300 of them came after contact. He had 23 missed tackles forced. And then he took a step back in terms of rushing production in year 2, or in 2023. But I don't think that means, the Washington is locked in on Jaden Daniels. I think they could absolutely take Jaden Daniels. But I'm going to take Drake May here. I think that just the more I think about it, it's just, during draft season, there's always, prospect fatigue where we have this player who we all see as the consensus number 1 or number 2 pick, and then we get bored of him, and then we start knocking him down the board. I tried my best not to do that this year, to be honest. The player that I have let slip to prospect fatigue, I think, personally, is Olu Fashanu. But with Drake May, I would be shocked if he didn't go top 2. I think there's a very real scenario of actually I won't do that to Vikings fans. I don't want to be mean. I just think Kwesi just is a GM that makes the right moves and then picks the worst player possible. Not always, but you know what I'm saying. He could have made some better picks with the good move he did prior to the pick. Anyways, pick 3 is going to be, there's no way that the Patriots are trading out. I'm sorry. There's just 0% chance. And I know that there's a report out there that the Vikings have had trade talks with the Cardinals But I think Monty Eisenfort is a really, really good GM so far. It's only his second year, but with what he's done to the team and how aggressive he is in the draft, moving back, moving up, and he's attacked a lot of the Cardinals' weaknesses in free agency, not with splash pickups, but he's attacked the defensive line, which is probably the biggest need on the Cardinals, and made room for Marvin Harrison Jr. or whoever, insert whoever, in the receiver room. I just thought of something that it's not in this video, but I think that a play that could happen is Monty could trade back with the Vikings at 11 and then trade back up to 5 if he really wanted to, because you're going to get that extra first just for the Vikings paying that premium for quarterback, because you have to pay a premium to get your quarterback. It's just an unspoken rule. I don't make the rules, but I have the Cardinals sticking and picking here at 4, and it does make sense because you don't want to get greedy, right? Like, what if someone outbids you for 5? You know what I mean? Like, just stay and because a lot of teams have Malik Neighbors reportedly as their wide receiver 1, and it would not. I would be more shocked if Drake May went after Jaden Daniels than if Malik Neighbors went over Marvin Harrison Jr., if that makes sense. Like, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to come in, be a 1,000-yard receiver, 70 catches a year, probably like 5 touchdowns minimum, barring an injury. Guaranteed. It would not shock me if Malik Neighbors had a better rookie year or, like, was as good as Marvin Harrison right away. Whereas I think Drake May is more of a project, but I think he's going to be the better player overall when it's said and done. But with the Chargers at pick 5, I have been saying since I think my first mock that ideally the Chargers trade back here, and it's almost like they have a for sale sign on this pick. Like, someone please come, for the love of God, take it. And the Vikings have done their homework, done their job, and I'm just going to do, like, this is the normal 2 firsts, 3 firsts for your franchise quarterback type deal. You know how I am about trade value. It's subjective. There's no way I can predict it. So do not get hung up on the trade value. We're only looking at the first round anyway, so, like, it's going to look something like this, is my point. So, with that being said, we are going to have the Vikings giving up at minimum, their 2 first-round picks this year for pick 5. I guess they would be swapping 11, but they would be giving 23 at least, is what I'm trying to say. So we'll force this trade through. The Vikings are on the clock, and they're going to take J.J. McCarthy. They have a private workout scheduled with J.J. McCarthy. I think they know they're taking J.J. McCarthy. I don't think any team... There was also a report that, to my point about Justin Fields in the beginning of the video, Atlanta reportedly tried to get into the top 3 before they went after Kirk Cousins, and the report literally said they hit a brick wall. Like, you can't... Like, the Patriots are not going to start Nathan Rourke or Bailey Zappi for a year so they can move back and get picks. Like, no, like, they're going to get their guy in worst case scenario, sit him for a year. They're not going to just pass him up because they don't have an offensive line built or anything like that. Like, that's just draft talk. That's stupid. Pick 6 is the Giants, and I think as a Giants fan, they've been fanning the J.J. McCarthy to the Giants. Like, we love J.J. We want J.J. to get someone to come up for J.J. so that Malik Neighbors could fall. Because there's a good chance if the Chargers stick and pick, they're going to take Malik Neighbors, in my opinion. I don't think they will, because I don't think that he's going to be... that. Like, the Chargers are building their team to run the ball. And if the focal point of your offense is not going to be Malik Neighbors, why are you going to use a top 5 pick on him to give him... I'll put it in my highlights on Twitter, which the Twitter's up there. I broke down the splits for pass attempts for what the Chargers are coming from, or maybe what I forget what I did, but it basically was outlining what Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman have done in the NFL, and every year they are 32nd or 31st in pass attempts, minus 1 year where Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins both tore their ACL. They were 9th, but they still were like 2nd in rushing attempts. Like, they're going to run the ball. Their free agency signings were 2 or 3 blocking tight ends. They just signed a center today, Bradley Bozeman from the Panthers, and Gus Edwards. Like, they're going to run the ball. That's what they want to do. That's what Jim Harbaugh has done everywhere he's gone, and it worked. So they're going to look to move back. J.J. obviously comes off the board, pick 5 to the Vikings, and then the Giants are at pick 6, and they're going to get, in my opinion, dare I say, the third best player in the entire draft with Malik Neighbors. This kid is... I have been caping for Malik Neighbors since, like, mid-December, bro. Like, go to my Twitter and just search Malik Neighbors. It's, like... I get Odunze's really good. Like, I think people think I hate on Odunze with how high I am on Neighbors. I just think that the gap between Neighbors and Marvin Harrison is much smaller than the gap between Malik Neighbors to Rome Odunze. I think that's a way bigger gap. So the Giants finally get their wide receiver one. I don't think they're really in the quarterback sweepstakes. The only way, and this is kind of what I was talking about with Kwesi, he makes these good moves, then he picks bad players. Like, the only way I could see the Giants taking a quarterback is if it goes Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, picks 1 and 2. The Patriots trade out, which I don't see happening because I just gave you that rant of how they're not. Would be a miracle for the Giants if this happened. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just saying. The Patriots trade out. The Vikings move up, and they take J.J. McCarthy over Drake May. That is the only... And then the Giants would obviously trade up to pick 5 or pick 4 or whatever. That's the only way I think the Giants... It would take a miracle for the Giants to go quarterback, in my opinion. I really don't think they're in on JJ. The reports are that the NFL circles are way higher on JJ than the public is, which I do believe. I don't know. I don't... To my naked eyes, like, I have no opinion of why, but I do see why, like... I mean, there are reasons, right? Like, I know we're talking about the Giants pick, but, like, for JJ... If you go back and actually watch Brock Purdy's college tape, Brock Purdy just stays in the pocket and makes every throw. And, like, I think that people forget, like, you win games from the pocket. Quarterbacks have to be able to win games in structure. And with JJ, I think the athleticism in there, the arm strength is there for him to do the stuff out of structure, but he's so good in structure that a lot of NFL teams, specifically Kevin O'Connell, I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the best head coaches in the NFL. I think if he can, like, I think the Vikings, out of the top 4 teams that would be taking a quarterback, so Bears, Washington, Patriots, Vikings. I think the Vikings are the best landing spot, just because of coaching. And you obviously have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, a good offensive line. Bears would be 2. Bears are pushing very close to. I just don't trust their head coach. I don't trust them to develop a quarterback. And then I think I would go Washington, because they have the weapons. And then Patriots would be last. But anyways, so the Giants go Malik Neighbors at pick 6. Sorry, I know it was a long-winded answer. Malik Neighbors pick 6. They get the third best player in the draft, in my opinion. I think he's just better than Odunze. If you like Odunze, I like Odunze too. Like, I think Odunze would be wide receiver 1 of last year, maybe the year. No, not in 22. I don't think he would have been above. He might have been above Drake London, but I don't know, man. Because Drake London was the wide receiver 1 of that class. I don't know if Odunze's above him. Drake London's going to have an insane year. Well, I'll talk about him when I get to the Falcons. But pick 7, still pretty chalk here. I thought about trading back, but I was just like, you know what, screw it. We're going to take Joe Alt. We're going to get one of the most guaranteed players in the entire draft here with Joe Alt. And that left side of the line is looking really, really good. You signed Calvin Ridley, and then you have DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe you put Treylon Burks back into the slot where he shined at in college, and you might get something more out of him than you've been getting, which it hopefully happens. But the left side of the line is starting to look really, really good. And if you still want to have the identity of a run-first offense, you're going to be able to run to the left, man. With Skoronski and Alt on that left side, it's going to be really, really good. Now you got to fix the right side, but you got draft picks. Pick 8 is the Falcons. And there's one dude in the comments that thinks I hate the Falcons. I don't hate the Falcons. I like the Falcons. I picked you guys to go to win your division last year. Like, I don't hate the Falcons, man. But anyways, so you get Kirk Cousins, right? Which I think was best case scenario. Because I think this team, like, you could have gotten a rookie quarterback, right? And unless you're getting, like, maybe Caleb Williams, I do think that Kirk Cousins is going to help you win now, even though you're paying him more than. And I think the roster is ready to. Like, it's in a window where they can easily win. They're going to win the division this year. The Saints are trash. Sorry, Saints fans, but, like, Derek Carr is not it. He's never. I don't understand why people fall for Derek Carr every year. It's like Baker Mayfield too. Like, Now that Dave Canales is out of Tampa Bay, like Baker's going to take a step back. It happened to Geno. They both had Dave Canales in Seattle and then in Tampa, and they both took a step back. The Falcons brought in two. I love Rams head coaches. They brought in two coaches from the Rams. Drake London. They're going to make this. They didn't bring in Drake London, but they have Drake London. They're going to have an elite running game that made Kyron Williams look like a god. Kyron Williams is a 5th-round pick, or maybe a 6th-round pick. Bijan Robinson is going to go berserk in this offense. And you have Kyle Pitts, who we know what Kirk has historically done with tight ends. Like, the Falcons' offense is going to be so good this year. And I was tempted to take Rome Odunze, but because you signed Darnell Mooney and then traded for Rondale Moore, I don't think it's necessary. I thought about going interior defensive line at Byron Murphy, but I decided to just go with the best edge rusher available because I think Arnold Ebiketie needs. I was a huge Arnold Ebiketie fan when he came out. I think you got to get him help. And I really could coin flip Dallas Turner or Jared Verse, but I personally think Dallas Turner is better. I think the league thinks Dallas Turner is better. But there is a report out there that I've mentioned almost every video. The Falcons were very upset last year when Jared Verse went back to school. So I don't know if he's their guy. If they took Verse over Turner, I would not be shocked. But I am going to predict they take Dallas Turner because he's the best edge available. And I think that helps them the most now with their offense is ready to go, man. Like it's wheels up for the Falcons offense. But pick 9, I'm sorry, is the Bears. I thought about trading back here as well, but I couldn't find someone to come up. I was trying to think of like what a team would be coming up for, right? Like a team I thought about actually trading back. I had an idea of the Bills coming into the top 10 in trading Stephon Diggs and getting Rome Odunze. But I didn't think it didn't make a ton of sense. Like they might be moving on from Stephon Diggs. He's being all weird on social media, but like I don't think anybody's going to want to move back that far. Plus, like moving that far back, you still have to pay Stephon Diggs. Maybe the Bears make sense, but they have DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and then you get Diggs. It's just like too many mouths to feed at that point. I don't know. Maybe it makes sense, but I just stuck with Rome Odunze because I think you save money, and I think Rome Odunze is what this offense needs because you don't have that vertical go up and get it guy. You have DJ Moore to be that yak guy, the do-it-all type of guy. Then you have Keenan Allen, your possession slot. So, like, you get Rome Odunze. Your offensive line already kind of took a step at the end of last season. Maybe get some guards later in the draft. Yeah, I think the defense. I think you have a playoff defense. I thought you had a playoff defense last year, but this team is going to the playoffs, like 100%. I think there's no doubt in my mind Chicago is going to the playoffs, at least as a wild card team. I don't know if they'll win the division, but I think even if Caleb Williams has a below expectations year, the defense is going to be so good, and I think the run game will still be so good that they'll be fine. But the Jets at pick 10, I know a lot of people want Brock Bowers. I couldn't do it because you trade for your right tackle, whose name is escaping me, for a 4th-round pick from the Baltimore Ravens. He was their starting right tackle, and then you trade for Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith has not finished a season in a while. And I think the perfect player to play behind him is Olu Fashanu, because there's a chance Olu Fashanu is the best tackle in the draft. You're getting him at 10. He doesn't have to start right away. He could develop as a run blocker. And he's already, I think he still is the best true pass blocking left tackle in the entire class. Pick 11 is the Chargers. And I know you need to get a weapon for Justin Herbert, but like the way that Greg Roman has always had an offense, at least in the NFL, is, you go back to San Francisco when he had Vernon Davis, or you go back to, obviously, the Baltimore Ravens when he had Mark Andrews. He was always putting Band-Aids at wide receiver, whether it was Devin Duvernay or, like whichever C-tier receiver he could get his hands on until he drafted Rashad Bateman, which took 3 years. So I think for the early development of this year, he wants that Vernon Davis, Mark Andrews type player. So I'm going to go with Brock Bowers here at pick 11. I think you get a player. You You get a player that you could have taken at pick 5, potentially, but you move back, get like 2 extra first-round picks, and everybody's happy. Broncos at pick 12, I actually really thought about this for a long time because everybody keeps saying Bo Nix, Bo Nix, Bo Nix. But, like, the point of drafting a rookie is to win on their rookie contract. And when you have the biggest dead cap hit in league history over the next 2 years, you're not exactly capitalizing on the rookie contract because you have to pay so much money to a quarterback. You're still paying Russell Wilson. So I thought about going with a skill player. Like I thought about Brian Thomas. I thought about going interior defensive line. I thought about even taking a tackle. But they don't seem to have any urgency. They didn't have any urgency. I know they didn't have any money, but they didn't have any urgency to take a quarterback as a stopgap. Whether that was even just Jacoby Brissett or Drew Lock. Bring Drew Lock back to Denver. They didn't do it. So it does tell me like they're probably going quarterback here. And I think they go Bo Nix. I think it's rich to go Bo Nix at 12. Like I thought about even Jared Verse as well, but like I don't think Bo Nix is a player that the Broncos want to move up for. But if he falls to them, they'd snag him. If that makes sense. Like I don't think they're worried about getting leapt for Bo Nix. Like if the Raiders or the Saints wanted to come up for him, like I don't think Sean Payton's sitting there like, oh crap, now what do I do? Like, no, I mean you still have Jarrett Stidham there, who could be your stopgap, I guess. But, I don't know. Broncos fans, comment in the comments if that makes sense, because like, you know what I think you know what I'm trying to say. I think, but anyways, Raiders at pick 13. The Christian Wilkins signing, spoiler alert, was like probably my favorite signing of all free agency, because now you have a top 3 edge rusher in Max Crosby, maybe. And then you have Christian Wilkins, who's a top 3 interior defensive lineman. And then you hope you get more at a Tyree Wilson now. You got a scary front, man. And I think in a division where you don't... and you signed Gardner Minshew, which is such an underrated signing. And then you picked up Alexander Madison today, like right before I started this video. This is a division where you got to play Justin Herbert, you got to play Patrick Mahomes, and then the Broncos. You have to be able to get to the quarterback, and you have to be able to stop. Like you have to be able to shut down passing games. So like, especially like the Chargers are going to build to be a run first offense, but with the front you have, you should do a pretty good job stuffing the run. Now it's like, all right, we have to protect the back end. So I went with Quinyon Mitchell here. Because I think that in other years, Quinyon Mitchell is a top 10 lock. Personally, he's done everything. He's had an outstanding breakout year. He balled out at the Senior Bowl, which is not designed for corners to do well. He had a great combine testing. I don't think there's any box left for him to check. Like, I think this class is so loaded. What I've learned from doing this exercise over and over and over again is, like, good talent is going to fall any way you cut it. Every time I do a mock draft, it's like, damn, I can't believe he's here at pick 23 or he's here at pick 16 or whatever. Like, this class at the top, in the top 100, is loaded. It is loaded. I cannot stress that enough. Like, there are going to be teams that get players, like good teams that get the best players in this draft just because it's so top heavy. So, like, a lot of talent is going to make it to the late 20s, to the mid-teens, like, or the late teens. And I think that's happening. It starts with Quinyon Mitchell. Like, for him to make it to 13, that shouldn't happen, like, in my opinion. I think he's probably a top 8 pick in other years. Like, he probably would go where Devin Witherspoon went last year. Maybe a little bit later, like 2 picks later. But anyways, pick 14 is the Saints, and this is our next trade. We have the Saints trading back with the Bengals, which is going to collateral with another trade, and when you see who I pick, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. So I'm not totally certain what this trade's going to look like. So if you get hung up on the trade compensation, I don't really care. I'd rather you comment on who I took and talk to me about that pick. But we're going to trade 18, and then we're going to give him pick 97 for pick 4, and maybe like 237 for pick 14. And the reason we're doing this is we have to get in front of the Colts. I said in the beginning of the video, This is like if every team was going to be super aggressive for the player that they wanted the most, right? For the Bengals, this is going to collateral into another trade that the Bengals are going to make, is we are going to trade in front of the Colts, because this is a player I think they are definitely eyeing 100%. And we are going to take Brian Thomas from LSU. And the reason we're taking Brian Thomas is because, spoiler alert, we're about to trade T. Higgins in like two picks. I would have done it at the beginning of the video, but I didn't want to give it away. So we're going to come up and get Brian Thomas, who's going to play the same role as T. Higgins, as this contested catcher guy. And he might be a better athlete at this point than T. Higgins. Like, T. Higgins is a phenomenal player. That's not what I'm saying. I'm a huge T. Higgins fan. But, like, to get Brian Thomas, who is free, first and foremost, he's free, 98th percentile athleticism, and just balled out at LSU. Like, I think that in this offense, he's going to fit in right away and experience a lot of success right away. The Colts at pick 15, they lose out on their guy. I really wanted to go Brian Thomas for them. So we're going to pivot, and we're going to take the second best corner in the class, potentially, in Terrion Arnold. I think that the Colts, you made a lot of good moves at bringing guys back, and I really wanted to replace Alec Pierce because this receiver class is so good at the top, and I think if you put Brian Thomas in the Alec Pierce role, you're going to get a lot more return on investment, because I think that the Alec Pierce role works in the offense. I just don't think Alec Pierce works in the offense. So I think that if we could replace him with Brian Thomas Jr., that would be ideal, but he's gone. So instead, we brought back Kenny Moore to be our slot corner. We're going to keep continuing to build that secondary and put someone next to Julius Brents, who we took last year, and we're going to get Terrion Arnold. I think this is a really good year to need corners, because they're going to fall, it looks like. From everything I've read, and I read a lot of stuff, corners are going to fall this year. It's just what I'm reading. I have no inside info. Seattle, pick 16. We're going to take Byron Murphy. So Byron Murphy is the best interior defensive lineman in the class. I know the interior of the offensive line needs help. We could have went Jackson Powers Johnson here. But you have Mike McDonald. And I was listening to Joel Klatt talk about Mike McDonald. And the first thing he wanted to do in Baltimore was build, it's called a run wall, where they are just going to stop the run. And we just saw how much success and how much money Justin Matabuke got paid on the Ravens under Mike McDonald. Excuse me. We're going to get a Justin Matabuke for Seattle, and it's going to start with Byron Murphy. You got to understand, too, like, we all like watching offense. But when you get a defensive head coach, he's going to want to fix. Good defensive head coaches fix their side of the ball first. That's what Matt Eberflus did. Matt Eberflus, right? On the Bears. The Bears defense has been good for probably a little bit over a season, I would say. Now they're really good. And now we're going to fix the offense at the same time. Ryan Poles is going to fix the offense. He's let Eberflus get his guys in the draft, and now he's really fixing this offense, which is fixed, by the way. So I think the same thing will happen in Seattle. It's just going to start with the defense and put Byron Murphy next to Leonard Williams. And Leonard Williams is almost 30 years old, so like you can't expect him to be playing the same amount of snaps every year. But anyways, pick 17 is the Bengals. We are trading this pick to, where they at? The Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to give pick 17 and pick 96, right? No, 114, sorry, for T. Higgins. And the reason why I'm doing 17 and 114 for T. Higgins is because A.J. Brown went for pick 118, pick 18 and 101. So I'm just spitballing this. It could be this, and then you throw in a seventh, next year's seventh, to close that gap. But it's going to look something like that. So we're going to force the trade through. The Jags get their guy. They missed out on Calvin Ridley. They're in on Brandon Ayuk. I don't see why you'd be in on Brandon Ayuk when you know what Trevor Lawrence could do with T. Higgins. That does not make any sense to me. I love Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk is probably the better player at this point in their career. Better route runner, better separator, does all those things. But we know what Trevor Lawrence is with T. Higgins. So why are you not going to go and get your franchise quarterback, someone he's comfortable playing with, rather than make him learn to play with a new player? I think it's a unique scenario where this should happen. So the Bengals back on the clock. Interior defensive line is an issue. So is the secondary. However, we are going to take our Jonah Williams replacement. And like I said, talent falls. I have mocked Talisi Fuaga as high as 10 multiple times. And he's here at pick 17. And the Bengals get the best right tackle in the entire class. Pick 18 is the Saints back on the board. And you're going to get who you could have taken at pick 14. And that is J.C. Latham to play right tackle. I don't know if you want to try J.C. Latham out as left tackle because he couldn't be worse than Trevor Penning. But regardless, you're going to get a franchise tackle here. Pick 19 is the Rams. We're going to trade back. And I'm also sorry I kind of crapped on the Saints a little bit before. Just not a big Derek Carr fan. It is what it is. The Rams here. We're going to trade back. And we're going to trade back with the Philadelphia Eagles. Pick 19 for 22. And then we're going to throw them pick 161. Something like that. Force it straight. Bang. So the Eagles come up to get in front of the Steelers. That's the point of this trade, is they have to get in front of the Steelers because the Steelers are looking to go tackle. Specifically right tackle. Because they're moving Broderick Jones back to left tackle, I think. That's what I've been told by Steelers fans. So we are coming up to 19. It would make sense to come up for Jared Verse, but you signed Bryce Huff, which is a very good signing in my opinion. As a Giants fan, it made me very sad. So we're going to come up here and we're going to take someone to develop into potentially the best right tackle in the league behind Lane Johnson and Amarius Mims. Marius Mims just ran a 40-yard dash in under 5 seconds at 6'7". This dude is an athletic freak who's just needs to stay healthy. So you're going to play him in a rotational role, and he's going to develop behind Lane Johnson. And if Lane Johnson retires next year, boom, you got Amarius Mims who's going to be ready to play. Like the Eagles, nobody develops offensive line talent in the league better than the Eagles. They're going to take Amarius Mims, and then they're going to move like nothing ever happened. Just keep on tush pushing. Steelers at pick 20. This was tough because I really wanted to go corner, but I know tackle is such a big need, or I should say offensive line is such a big need, and I know that like interior is not the biggest need at the moment. I could also go Jared Verse, which I have no problem doing, to play alongside TJ Watt. Let me just look at something real quick because I just think having the Steelers' defense is kind of built pretty similar to how the Giants' offense is built, where it's built around Andrew Thomas, where if Andrew Thomas doesn't play, the offense doesn't work anymore. The same could be said for the Steelers' defense in a way when TJ Watt gets injured. I also think that receiver is in play here because you traded away Deontay Johnson, which you kind of got fleeced on that trade, I'm not going to lie. So what I decided to do was I got someone you could play at guard for year one and then maybe move him to center, or you just start him at center. I think this is one of the best players in the entire draft who's automatically going to make your team better, and that is Jackson Powers-Johnson. I know it's not maybe the most ideal pick that like Steeler fans want, but regardless, you have an Arthur Smith. Like Arthur Smith is your offensive coordinator. You need to have a good offensive line, and it's what he addressed first in Atlanta. I just don't know if you'd rather reach on the tackles available or take the best player on the offensive line available, which is Jackson Powers-Johnson. Because you could take Troy Fonten out and play left guard, but you have, if my notes are correct, you have, you got him from the Eagles. Oh, yeah, Isaac Samalu, and then you have Dan Moore Jr. on the left tackle, but I don't know if you want to play Fontenot at left tackle. Maybe I should have went Fontenot here. Would have been a better pick. But can't cry over spilled milk. I took Jackson Powers-Johnson because I know he's the best pick. Fontenot would have been a good pick for left tackle, but I think Jackson Powers-Johnson is the best pick. And you know that the Dolphins are looking at Jackson Powers-Johnson. But for the Dolphins, which I just want to make sure I'm right on my notes again, because I don't like giving out that false information. Yes, so this is a point I've been making for a while, and this might piss off Dolphins fans, but you just had your quarterback throw for the most yards in the league. He had the most passing yards in the league. And then I just really do believe Mike McDaniels is one of my favorite I think he's one of my favorite coaches in the NFL because his offense is just so amazing. And it covers so many weaknesses. I think offense is a bigger need because you lost Robert Hunt to the Panthers. but I don't think you have to address it here. And losing Emmanuel Ogbah and then Jordan Phillips tore his Achilles, I think if Jared Verse just falls into your lap at pick 21, like, I would be hard pressed. If you're hell bent on going offensive line, at least trade back. But to pass on Jared Verse, who's edge 2 in the class, potentially a top 10 pick, I don't know, man. I would be like, if I need to make this team better, I would not pass on Jared Verse. I think he's too good. I think it's just, it is what it is, and he's just such a talented player where, like, you could draft for need, but Jared Verse is going to make your team better, most likely, than Troy Fontenot is. It just is what it is. And then at pick 22 is the Rams after they traded back, and they're going to scoop up Johnny Newton after Aaron Donald retired. RIP. He's not dead, but amazing season, Hall of Fame career. Sad to see him go, to be honest. But Rams fill a need. Then the Chargers back on the clock. They're going to get Tyler Guyton to play right tackle, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to develop an offensive line as good as Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman in tandem. So you got your weapon in Brock Bowers, and then you get offensive line help, which you do need on the right side. So I think that this is a very good haul. You also have an extra first next year. And if the Vikings sputter, which I don't think they will, I think they'll actually have a good year if they get JJ, you're going to get like a top 10 pick potentially. So anyways, Dallas at pick 24. Here's where Troy Fontenot comes off the board. Because you have Tyler Smith, who played left tackle when Tyron Smith got hurt. But you drafted him to play left guard. So if you're going to keep him at left tackle, Troy Fontenot comes in and plays left guard immediately. If you want to move Tyler Smith back to left guard, Troy Fontenot moves to left tackle. I know I said with the Vikings, you're not sure if he's going to play left tackle for you, but I'm sorry, not the Vikings, the Steelers. But with lost my train of thought. Anyways, with the flexibility of Tyler Smith already having a season under his belt pretty much as left tackle, maybe you leave him there and try Fontenot at left guard at first and then switch him worst case scenario. Packers at 25. I think the Packers had one of my favorite free agencies, I'm going to be honest, because the Josh Jacobs pickup is a huge, huge boost to the offense. And you could be saying, well, they had Aaron Jones. Like, yeah, that's right. But Aaron Jones was hurt for like at least 6 games last year. And A.J. Dillon is terrible. A.J. Dillon is, there was rumors that the Giants were going to sign A.J. Dillon, and I was just praying to God, please don't let that happen. He is terrible. How are you going to be built like a big short yardage back and not be able to get short yards? It doesn't make sense. So you get Josh Jacobs to come in and be your do-it-all back. And then I think a player to watch for the Packers to draft to play that Aaron Jones role is Bucky Irving. Because Bucky Irving had a terrible combine in the way he measured in. Bucky Irving's a player that I've been really, really high on. He's probably going to fall now because his athletic score was pretty bad. But the stats and the game film is there. He also had like the most receiving yards of any running back in college football last year. Keep an eye on Bucky Irving to the Packers because I think that actually is really going to happen. I think there's a lot of steam behind that. You heard it here first. But at pick 25, I think the biggest theme for the Packers on defense on the offseason is defense. Defense. Keep getting better on defense. So we're going to take someone who I think should get drafted a lot higher than this, Quinn McKinstry. He's falling for no reason, in my opinion. I think it's just recency bias, and I think you're getting maybe a top 15 player at pick 25. Pick 26 is the Buccaneers, and I think you need to replace Carlton Davis, who you traded to the Lions. And we're going to take Cooper DeJean. Just kind of a do-it-all player on the defensive side. He could pretty much play wherever. Great in the run game. In a division where you're going to need you're going to need someone to stop the run, to be honest. That's what I thought about him to the Packers. But with Carolina, who's going to run the ball, with the Saints, who run the ball, and then with who's the last team I'm missing? Bucks, Saints, Panthers, Falcons. Falcons are going to run the ball too. Cooper DeJean, arguably the best run defending corner in the class, in my opinion. Arizona, this is another trade. This is to get in front of the Bills The Chiefs just keep owning the Bills. They're going to trade pick 27, and then we'll give them like 131 and a 6 next year. Sure. So the Cardinals are going to move back because why not? You already got Marvin Harrison Jr. at the top. There's no interior defensive lineman here, so why force a pick? You could go Latu, but I figured just get more players, keep building the team. And the Chiefs are coming all the way up for Adonai Mitchell, who was tested in the 99th percentile athletic score. I think this is what this offense is missing, a field-stretching contested receiver. Rashee Rice is that underneath guy. Kelsey is Kelsey. And then they traded for Hollywood Brown, so maybe receivers not as, or signed Hollywood Brown. Maybe receivers not as big of a need in the first round. But I think if you could keep Adonai Mitchell away from the Bills, who may not even be addressing receiver in the first round because their secondary got absolutely gutted because they have no money. I think you're doing yourself a favor, to be honest. This is money you're investing in yourself to keep something away from someone else. So the Bills at pick 28, I think the secondary, you need to, you didn't see what you really wanted to see with Kaiir Elam a few years back. Rasul Douglas was kind of a savior midseason, but you want that guy, I think, in the secondary, and I really like Nate Wiggins to the Bills. Bills fans might be screaming no because they got burnt by Kaiir Elam. Oh, wait, Kaiir Elam was from, what am I saying? He played at Florida, not Clemson. But anyways, Lions at pick 29, we're going to go with Latu, which just makes the Lions defensive line absolutely insane. And then we're going to not try to speed run through this, but these back half teams like the Lions, like I've seen a lot of people go receiver here. I think that like you need to keep what your identity is sound, and I think you either need to replace Graham Glasgow on the offensive line, i.e. Graham Barton, or you need to patch up the defensive line, which has really been underwhelming. Not because it's bad, it's just incomplete in my opinion. And I think if you're getting a top 50, like I've banged the drum for Latu all year, like if you're getting someone as ready to play now as Latu, yes, there's medical concerns, but like at pick 29, look at how Jalen Phillips has been until this year. Like he had the neck injury concerns, everything was fine, and he blows his Achilles. There's nothing you could do about that. But Latu cleared, all the medicals look good. You're getting him at pick 29 to go with Aiden Hutchinson. Like, I think this is a very smart move to make, and it's really, really good value. It's worth the risk. You could go Barton, which is a safe pick. I just don't see, like, of the receivers available, I don't think, you have Jamison Williams, who's going to play the Troy Franklin, Xavier Worthy role. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's going to play the Roman Wilson, Ladd McConkey role, or Ricky Pearsall. Keon Coleman, I'm just low on in general. Like, I'm not a huge Coleman fan. Jermaine Burton could also kind of be that same type of like Jamison Williams type role. I just don't think you need to go receiver at pick 29, in my opinion. Now, for the Ravens at pick 30, we are going to go receiver, and I'm going to take Ladd McConkey. I've had Ladd McConkey as a top, I think I moved him down to 6. But coming into the year, he was my top 5 receiver. Coming into the offseason, he was my number 5 wide receiver. He is so good. Like NFL, just quarterback-friendly type player. And I think the Ravens lost that with, not that Odell was good, but Odell was playing in the slot. Zay was on the outside, and Zay was kind of moving around, and Bateman was on the outside. So now you're going to get a true slot and let Zay Flowers play that flanker role, and then keep Bateman on the perimeter. Hopefully he develops as the X. But McConkey, if you keep him in the slot, you have a premier route runner on short yardage, on like third and 5, third and 4. Like you have that guy now. And I think he would actually be so dynamic in this offense, and he would make Zay Flowers' life a lot better. Because I want to see Zay Flowers kind of play that like pseudo DJ Moore role, where you give him stuff in space and let him create, because that's what he was so good at in college. And I think with Ladd McConkey, who's not the most dynamic athlete, you still get that player who's your safety valve. And now you're freeing up Zay Flower where he doesn't have to be that player in those situations. He can be, but he doesn't have to be. And then at pick 31 is the 49ers. I don't know if this player is going to go in the first round. I think he's going to go definitely within the top 40 picks. But Zach Frazier, I think getting a high quality center, like Zach Frazier reminds me a lot of Tyler Linderbaum, just with the wrestling background, super good in college, like super good in getting to the second level, flipping his hips, pass protection, and just an absolute mauler in the run game. Like, I think Zach Frazier is perfect for this offense. And center is a huge need for the 49ers. And if you want to start him out at left guard, you can. I just think he's a plug-and-play center, to be honest. And then the Cardinals, back at the back end of the draft, pick 32, we are going to take Chop Robinson, who is being criminally slept on. He's starting to come back to life after the Combine. I've been talking about him for a while. But that's going to do it for this video. Let me know how I did for your team. Comment with your favorite pick, your least favorite pick, what was your favorite trade, what you liked, what you didn't like, and let me know in the comments. Don't come at me with the trade compensation, because I will just say it's subjective, and you don't know and I don't know. So just tell me about the trade, what you thought of the trade, and if the trade was good. Anyways, that's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.